Hi everyone. Very good evening. I hope everybody can see me and hear me clearly. Okay, so we are just about to start our session. Kushak, we are here. I hope I'm audible and visible. Can you guys see me? Can you guys hear me? Right. So we have our another XAT session where we'll be covering majorly the top RCs, which are, the previous year's XAT RCs, and also few questions on critical reasoning. Perfect, Shubhangi. Thank you so much for the confirmation. Let's get started with some good RCs. I hope most of you did join me for the previous session, and I hope this session too will be, getting the best out of the reading comprehensions which are, covered in the previous RCs, previous XAT RCs. So we'll be covering the same today. Let me just share the first passage with you. So this is passage one we have with good three paragraphs. Okay, so I will just help you out with how to read and what to focus on more. So this is your passage one. Okay, and here too you'll find that the first paragraph, as we've discussed earlier too, this one is to an introduction to what your entire passage is going to talk about, right? Once you'll have the introduction completed, you'll find the next paragraph somewhere covers the body of the passage, and at the end you'll find that the author shares his or her own views, right? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to quickly go through it. Once you guys are done with the passage, please just type down yes or done, and then we'll move ahead to the next slide. Okay? Or if you just want me to help you out with the basics again, I'll just take a minute and explain how the RCs have to be dealt with. If you want, we can also start with that. So when we talk about any RC, as I stated, we have an introduction, we have the body of the passage, and last of all, we have the conclusion. Okay? So here, the passage we are reading currently, the paragraph here covers the introduction, that is, what is the claim of the author. And then you'll have certain body parts as examples, as analogies, or where the tone gets rhetorical again, that is, repetition of certain facts stated. And last of all, the author shares his opinion where he is trying to emphasize on that here the claim has been stated. So this is true. Let me run you through the passage quickly, and then maybe we can move to the next paragraph. Due to which we've also been really ruthless on environment. The environment crisis has always been stricken on, right? So anxiety about India's impact, industry's impact on the environment has existed for over a century. So he's talking about environmental crisis in general, not compared or not stated or not limited to any specific country, is not new. Anxiety about industry's impact on the environment has existed over a century. So impact has been there on the environment for over 100 years. What is new is the extreme polarization of views, when some of them actually support it and some of them go against it. Right? It says mounting evidence of humanity's capacity to damage the environment irreversibly, coupled with suspicious that government, industry, and even science might be impotent to prevent environmental destruction, have provoked accusatory polemics on the part of environmentalists, right? So when we think of something having a very longer duration impact or a long lasting impact, and where we find that there's a huge harm to a certain thing, like here, when we talk about what is happening to environment currently, the rate at we look at which the industries are growing, global warming on the other side is increasing, glacial all the glaciers are melting like anything, right? So this creates a lot of anxiety. And if we talk about environmental crisis, it's not new. The author says anxiety about industry's impact, what impact the industry is going to have on the environment, has existed for over a century. So it's been more than 100 years. And what is new is the extreme polarization of views, that people, some of them support it and some of them are against it, right? Mounting evidence means whatever proof we have to support this claim of humanity's capacity to damage, that we do have a lot of capacity, we have a lot of potential to environment irreversible damage, to damage the environment irreversibly, coupled with suspicions. And at the same time, the author also uses these terms: suspicions that government, industry, and even science might be impotent. They would not be able to impact, not be able to prevent it from getting, disrupted, has provoked accusatory polemics on the part of environmentalists. So this is something which is really triggering the accusations. These accusations are actually triggering the polemics on the part of environmentalists. In turn, these polemics have elicited a corresponding backlash. And then, of course, these polemics, they got really infuriated and they started backlashing on whatever they are observing. In turn, these polemics have elicited a corresponding backlash, a strong adverse reaction as to a recent political or social development. That what kind of development is it when we are eventually, you know, moving or marching towards our own doom, right? From industry. The sad effect of this polarization is that it is now even more difficult for industry than it was 100 years ago to respond appropriately to impact analysis that demand action. Then the author says that the sad effect of this polarization, the sad part of this polarization is that it is now even more difficult for industry than it was 100 years ago to respond appropriately to impact analysis that demand action. So earlier, maybe we were at the stage where the things were still reversible, right? Now the author says that it's at that stage where we can't even create that state again. We can't even respond appropriately to impact analysis that demand action. We can't even change the situation. Currently we are at this age where everything is completely irreversible. Okay. And then to add to this, the author says, unlike today's adversary. So once the author has already stated that this is a problem and all the damage done is irreversible, it says, unlike today's adversaries are like atrocious situations, atrocious or bad situation. Earlier ecological reformers shared with advocates of industrial growth a confidence in timely corrective action. So, unlike today's adversaries, if we look at the today's bad situation, earlier ecological reformers, the earlier reformers have shared with advocates of industrial growth a confidence is timely corrective action. That people, if there were some people who were fighting for industries and there were some people who were fighting against industries, then the situation would be eventually corrected, right? So they're talking about the corrective action plan, right? They're talking about the corrective action plan here, that whatever damage we do, that will be eventually corrected, right? But now it's referring to that all the damage which is done is irreversible. It cannot be reversed. So George P. Marsh's pioneering conservation tracked man and nature elicited wide acclaim without embittered denials, right? Then he's referring to a character here that Marsh's pioneering conservation tracked man and nature. If we look at the conservation tract, he's talking about man and nature, which was written in 1864. So this reminds me of 1984, but okay, 1864 elicit wide acclaim without embittered denials, that there were no denials, that they will definitely be finding a solution to this problem. Then he says that brought the face of the earth to a desolation almost as complete as that of the moon. Right? That is where we are when we talk about brought the face of the earth to a desolation. But no entrepreneur of industrialists sought to refute Mars' accusation. But there's no entrepreneur of industrialists who sought to refute, means who sought to go against Mars' accusations, to defend the gutting, to destroy the essential power or effectiveness of inflation, gutting the economy of forest or the slaughter of wildlife as economically essential, or to dismiss his ecological warnings as hysterical. So what is hysteria? It's like something which is at the top and something really bad. So he is talking about no entrepreneur of industrialists so to refute Marsh's accusation, that whatever accusations George P. Marsh had stated in his conservational part of work, whatever it was, man and nature, which elicited wide claim without embittered denials, that there are no denials that yes, we have been harmful. Humans have been harmful to the environment. There are a lot of uh, damage which has been done already to the nature, to the wildlife, and then no entrepreneur industrialist so to refute. Nobody could actually make claims against him. Whatever his claims were, they were definitely justified with good reasons, and nobody could speak against him. To destroy the essential power of effectiveness of inflation, gutting the economy of forests to the slaughter of wildlife as economically essential. Like, even if you say that we have to cut down forests because it's essential to meet the demand of the population, then too it is something where we are getting too selfish, or to dismiss his ecological warnings as hysterical. To the contrary, they generally agreed with him, and people would agree to him. So, are you guys following with me? Any doubts so far, guys? Kushag, Akhil, Shubhangi? Okay, moving ahead to the next part now. Now, why? Why nobody could deny? Marsh and his followers took environmental improvement and economic progress as given. Right? He did not take it with an okayish attitude that whatever it is, we'll fix it later. If industrialists are agreeing to it, that there'll be something as a corrective action plan, and if it is not implemented, I'm gonna go after them. There was nothing like he had to be really really rough on them. People were actually following his views. And they could not refute, they could not deny what he stated. So Marsh and his followers took environmental impact, improvement and economic progress as given. So what they wanted to do was, if there was some damage done, it was also improved at the same time, it was corrected. They disputed not the desirability of conquering nature, but the bungling way in which the conquest was carried out. Blame was not personalized, to make personal or individual specifically to mark as the property of a like as a mark the property of a particular person, personalized stationery. Marsh denounced means he demeaned. He had a very dogmatic attitude. किसी को बहुत ही condescend करना, right? Condescend means उसको नीचे ही नजर से देखना, right? So Marx denounced general greed. He said, no, we can't always be thinking from the general good, or the general greed, rather to say it, rather than particular entrepreneurs. And the media did not hound. It did not then make noise about it. Underwrite means to demean someone's words, to pursue with or as if with hounds, male factors. Further corrective measures seem to entail no sacrifice. To demand no draconian remedies. Draconian means very strong. Like we talk about, there's another term for draconian. We use draconian laws, or draconian religion, or even with the principle, right? So, draconian means something which is very strict, very strong, cannot be changed at all. Okay, so here too, what is being referred is, it says Marx's emphasis on future stewardship or managing of something, especially the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care, stewardship of our natural resources, was then a widely accepted ideal. His ecological admonitions were in keeping with the Enlightenment premise that humanity's mission was to subdue and transform nature. So, what he said was that he did talk about that ecological admonitions, whatever bad or impact we are doing, the atrocious impact we are creating on the nature, it was there to keep up with the Enlightenment premise that humanity's mission was to subdue and transform nature. Sadly, we are on the verge of transforming nature. So, what is the understanding of the passage, guys? Are you guys with me? Did you understand? Any doubts so far? We've covered the entire passage. I know it took us some time because I was explaining line by line everything to you, but I hope all the three paragraphs are clear. Any doubts? Anything you have a question for? Please type it down in the chat box. Okay, so what I'm expecting from you guys now is, please help me out with the GST, the general idea, the structure and tone, so that we can move to the questions post that. Okay, I've explained the passage to you. Quickly help me out with the general idea, structure of the passage, and tone and title. When we say structure, it's basically the role or function of each paragraph. Okay, can we expect this? Quick 2 minutes, everyone. Answer in the chat box. Can we expect this? If you want to refer a particular paragraph, okay, please let me know if you guys are done with the paragraph. If you want to refer any other paragraph, I'll take you back. All right, Kushagra. Do not forget to write the role of the first paragraph as well. Even if it gives an introduction to the claim, what is that claim? What is the point that the author is trying to prove here? Perfect, Kushag. Yeah. It says earlier ecological reformers like George B. Marsh emphasized responsible stewardship, aligning environmental improvement with economic progress and enlightenment. Ideas. Okay, ideals. That's right. Um, that's right that we're talking about Marsh here. What is the role of first paragraph do here? What's the function of the first paragraph? I want everyone to please help me out with the central idea, guys, and also role of each paragraph. Kushag, Akhil, everybody, please help me with the structure. Shubhangi. Okay, giving you 1 more minute. Also, the tone of the author, guys. Okay, first paragraph highlights the constructive reception of George P. Marr's conservative ideas. Highlights the constructive reception, how it was received. Are we talking about George in the first paragraph? Of course, we did talk about George in the second, but it's only in the second paragraph when we introduce, whom we're talking about. The first paragraph basically highlights the idea of extreme polarization and what it is leading to. And the sad effect of polarization is that it is now even more difficult that the impact the industries have created is irreversible. And then to bring down that fact, it says that unlike today's adversaries, if we talk about the previous time, earlier ecological reformers like George P. Marsh, during his time, everything was taken up so seriously that if there were any accusations, nobody could defend those accusations. Nobody could deny those accusations. And the actions were taken so seriously that environmental improvement and economic progress was always at the peak. It was always at the par with the kind of destruction which was happening, right? So the first paragraph introduces the idea that one, there's an entire, you know, chaotic situation when we talk about the environmental crisis, and there's always a debate. But this time, when we look at the polarized views, we are sad to see that there is no one to take a stand on the environment side. The polemics, they have been just trying to voice out the environmentalist views, but still there is no impact being created, right? And the sad part is that everything as an impact is irreversible on the environment, right? The kind of effect the industries have had, it's all going in an irreversible direction. No corrective action is being taken, isn't it, Kushak? एनालिटिकल एंड रिफ्लेक्टिव इज बेटर, या ठीक है. बट फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ इंट्रोडक्शन दे रहा है और ये चीज हाईलाइट कर रहा है कि पहले के जो कंजर्वेटिव्स होते थे, पहले के जो इकोलॉजिकल रिफॉर्मर्स होते थे, वो फिर भी थोड़ा ध्यान रखते थे जब वो वॉइस आउट करते थे एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट को लेके कि एनवायरमेंट की सिचुएशंस को लेके, तो लोग उनको डिनाई नहीं कर पाते थे. दे वुड जस्ट agree to it and they would take some corrective action and plans. But now the environmentalists are sad to see कि अगर कुछ कोई आवाज करने की कोशिश भी कर रहा है, कोई एक्यूजेशंस भी लगे हैं, तो उस पे गवर्नमेंट भी कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं कर रही है. गवर्नमेंट इज रादर somewhere a part of the industrialists, so it's not taking any corrective action. So fun. Okay, the first paragraph, the central idea is that growing polarization between environmentalists and industry, driven by mutual accusations and backlash, hinders constructive responses to environmental crisis. Growing polarization, like polarization was always there. He's talking about that debate was always there, but that polarization is more inclined towards a permanent damage again and no corrective action. Mutual accusations hai, backlash hai, but there is no constructive response to it. So that's right. I think Kushagra, yes, we can say that's close. What about the second paragraph? Let me show you that. What about this paragraph, guys? Please help me out with this. Do you find this one more effective as it contains some more facts? What does it draw? It tries to draw parallelism with the current situation, but then at the end it says that the situation today is rather worse. Why is it worse? Because earlier the ecological reformers were able to make that impact. If there was some damage being done on the environment, damage was done to the environment, they would take some corrective action plan for the same. They would make certain plans, they would put the action and plan in action. But today the situation is rather worse. Second, you've already given. Second ka kya tha? Reformers emphasize responsible stewardship, aligning environmental impact with economic progress. This is more towards the second, I think we can say that. The tone of second is also analytical, right? Overall tone is analytical itself. Should I take you to the next paragraph? Will the next paragraph help us in figuring out the structure and the tone there? Can we move to the next? Okay, let me take you to the next. What is the function of this particular paragraph? If I ask you the idea for this paragraph, what is the gist? Okay. Please try to write down the paragraph summary. If you're not able to figure out, maybe I can help you out with that and then we can move to some questions. So here the author talks about Marsh and his followers took environmental improvement and economic progress with a very strong viewpoint. They did not let anyone deny, what they were looking for. And there were no such times of polarization. Blame was not personalized or individualized. People would understand that it was industry altogether which was responsible for it. And we are contributing to that industry. We are contributing to that demand. Marsh denounced general greed rather than particular entrepreneurs. And the media did not hound. Media was not against him. Further corrective measures seem to entail no sacrifice. So, whatever corrective measures were there, it's an important statement which says that further corrective measures seem to entail no sacrifice, no demand, no draconian remedy. So, there were some corrective actions that were taken. Self interest underwrote most prescribed reforms. Marsh's emphasis on future stewardship, conducting, supervising, or managing of something, especially the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care stewardship of natural resources, was then widely accepted ideal, if not practice. So it's an important part which says self-interest underwrote most prescribed reforms. So whatever changes were being done, they were not for self-interest, they were for everyone's interest. So when we think about nature, you think beyond yourself, right? And then Marx's emphasis on future stewardship, that we should not think from our angle or our point of view, we should think from sustainability's point of view, right? Something which is going to be substance rather than individualistic, right? Or managing of something, especially the careful and responsible management of something. So what does it mean to carefully and responsibly manage something? It means to cater to an entity in certain manner that if you do some damage to it, you always reverse it after a while. You always take some corrective measures. And his ecological admonitions were in keeping with the Enlightenment premise that humanity's mission was to subdue and transform nature. Okay, so tell me, is the last paragraph clear to everyone? What is the central idea of the last paragraph? I've explained it to you. I hope it's clear. That if there was some damage done, it was always corrected. That's how Marsh and his team would work together. Okay, let me take you to some questions now since we've discussed the general idea, the structure, and tone as well. Please have a look at the question and try to eliminate on your own. I'll give you 1 minute for it. I think 1 minute would be enough for you to refer the passage in case you need to. But it's a general question. Last time we discussed there are two types of questions, right? I explained to you that there are questions which can be very directly asked and there can be questions which are indirectly asked. So when we say direct, it's more of fact-based questions. And when we have questions based on structure, right, or if it is the tone of the author, or the gist of the passage, the central idea, the main idea, or the primary purpose, right? All these questions fall under inference question type. Okay, so this one is where you're trying to figure out the insights being drawn from the passage. What are they? So, main idea, the central idea of the passage. That is what the paragraph demands, the question demands from you. Okay, so this is an inference based question. Try to eliminate and we'll check the answer together. Guys, I hope you can see me and hear me outrightly, clearly, out loudly. If yes, please drop in your answers in the chat box. And once I see a few answers in the chat box, we'll discuss the question. Otherwise, I'm going to wait for your answers. I've explained the passage to you. I just hope that everyone gets the answer correct. If you are unable to find it, just think what is the core idea of the passage. Why is the passage, revolving around that one particular statement? Just try to eliminate the options. You would be able to easily eliminate the incorrect ones if you understood the passage well. Yeah, definitely we can move to the passage. Shubhra, let me know if you want to refer any other paragraph. I've taken you to the first one. Do you want to move to the next paragraph? Let me know if you want to move to the next paragraph. Yeah. Next paragraph. Okay, I'll take you there. Just a moment. Please check this one. Okay. Can we move ahead? All right, Shubhra. Please check this one out. Hmm. Let me know if you're done. I'll take you back to the question. Shall we move to the question? Okay. Taking you to the question now, guys. Please try to eliminate which of the following most accurately states the main idea. Yeah, Shubhra. Please eliminate the options and drop in your answers in the chat box. Then we discuss. Last 30 seconds. I will discuss it. Okay, perfect. All right, let's try to eliminate. So, mounting evidence of humanity's capacity to damage the environment should motivate action to prevent further damage. The author wants to end on that it's a high time, it's almost the day, that we are rushing towards our own doom. Okay, and we do not have enough bandwidth left to make any changes in the environment reversible, right? Whatever damage we're doing, it's almost irreversible. So does it directly state that mounting evidence of humanity's capacity to damage environment should motivate action? Doesn't seem to be a good option. I might not eliminate it right away, just leaving it for now. Ecological mystique identified with Frederick Clemens has become a religious conviction among ecological reformers. No. George P. Marsh's ideas about conservation and stewardship have heavily influenced the present debate over the environment. It hasn't influenced. He is just highlighting this name, this reformer, just to show that how the previous situation used to be. It definitely doesn't highlight that. The views of ecologists and industrial growth advocates concerning the environment have only recently become polarized. That no action is being done. It's just that people are becoming more north and south on that, but not coming to any solution. General greed rather than particular individuals, industries should be blamed. It's not about whom should be blamed, it's about what is happening. So, can I say mounting evidence? Now I'm left with A and D, right? If I look at the options, we're left with A and D. So, A says mounting evidence of humanity's capacity to damage environment should motivate action. How can I say it should motivate action? Like, I know it's the need of the hour, but what action? How should it be taken? Not much has been emphasized on that. But if we look at D, what does D say? It straight away mentions that the views of ecologists, that is how the paragraph starts, and industrial growth, it's basically infuriating a polarization. It's just leading to a debate. Though debate about environment was always there. It's always been since years, since decades, since centuries. But now that polarization is rather growing deeper and there's no solution to it. So answer should be D Delhi. Okay. Have a look at the next question. Ecological mystic. What does ecological mystic refer in the passage? Do you want to refer the options very quickly and then I take you back to the question? Yeah? Extreme polarization, no solution. Right, right. Absolutely. You guys are right. Do you want to refer the passage or should I take you back to the passage? We need to refer to ecological mystic. Where is it mentioned? Okay. Just give me a second. I'm going to take you back. So when we are referring to ecological mystic, it is just a second, guys. I marked it earlier and now the word went missing. It says ecological warnings here and then it's ecological warnings. Okay. If any one of you is able to figure it out, please give a heads up so that we can also, stop there and move to the question. Second parameter. So it's mentioned here. I could say ecological warnings, ecological reformers. Sort of, it's gonna take some 30 minutes probably. 30 minutes, 35 minutes. So generally, what happens is whenever there's a question coming from a particular context, we always come back. But here, the question seems to be being itself a question. Where to find ecological mistake. Guys, are you able to spot it? और कहाँ पे था? यहाँ पे था. Shall we skip this question for now because I think spotting itself. I had highlighted it earlier, but now it's lost. Next para तो यही है ना बच्चे. ठीक है, second is this, and then third is this. Maybe we can move ahead to the next question and I'll come back to this in a while. Okay. Let's move to this question. Yes. Let's have a look at this one. All right, Alicia. Let me know if you guys are done. Okay, perfect. So, what does the question say? That George P. Marsh and today's ecological reformer. So, it is something which is not stated directly, but he is referring to the first paragraph itself somewhere, that what is happening currently and what George P. Marsh says would be most likely to agree with which of the following statements. Regulating industries in order to protect the environment does not conflict with the self interest of those industries. If we regulate industries to protect the environment, does not conflict. It does conflict rather. Solving the environmental crisis does not require drastic and costly remedies. We don't know if something costly has been managed or discussed in the passage. Human depopulation of the earth has caused widespread environmental damage. That's okay, but again, it's not just human despoliation. That is very generic term. It's basically the industrialists. He's trying to first, first blame the industrialists, and then towards the second part of it, it says that earlier people would not just go by the individualistic approach, but they would think that it's we collectively are responsible for it. Environmental improvement and economic progress are equally important goals. Economic progress, nothing has been mentioned. Rather than blaming specific industries, general greed should be denounced as the cause of environmental destruction. Yeah, E is the correct answer. It should be E echo for this question. I hope everyone's good with the question. Right now, let's move to a fresh passage. Let me just take you back. Yeah, okay. Have we done this passage before? I think we have not. It's just one paragraph and then some good questions. So I'm going to wait for everyone to quickly go through it. Short but tricky passage. Okay, it's just one paragraph, guys, but really tricky. And then we have some questions. Let me know once you're done. We discuss it. 2 minutes, quick 2 minutes to read. Though ideally we should take only 30 seconds, but it's a passage from sociology. I want you to comprehend it well, figure out the general idea, the structure, and tone, and then we'll discuss it entirely together. Are we done? Let me know if you guys are done with the passage. All right. What about the rest of us? Are we still reading? Shall we read it together, guys? Shubhra, Alisha, Saurav, and who else? Kushagra was with us, yeah. Kushagra, are you there with us? Perfect, Alisha. Okay, let me explain the passage to you. So, what does it say? It says the author of the Affluent Society, this was a book or an article, argued throughout his long and distinguished career for a better balance in advanced capitalist societies between private affluence and evident public poverty. Okay, so one thing they're talking about affluent society. Okay, they're calling something as the affluent society. And on the other side, what they're saying is that there's always been a debate. When we talk about the affluent society, there's always been a debate between the private affluence. Private affluence means only a few handful people in the society are rich or affluent or wealthy, but most of them are suffering from public poverty. Okay, they are not as rich as these people might be, and they don't even have the basic needs met. Now, why are we referring to public poverty? What does it mean to say public poverty? It means in terms of education, in terms of healthcare, right? In terms of the public parks, or even the damage done to environment is something which is impacting everyone publicly. It's like a public damage, right? So that should be taken care of. That's what the author says here. The author of the Affluent Society argued throughout his long and distinguished career for a better balance in advanced socialist societies, capitalist societies. So capitalist societies means who are just concerned about money for themselves, like individual interest. They don't care about others. They're just considerate about themselves, but not just considered about themselves, but not at all considerate about the public. Between private affluence and the evident public poverty. By public poverty, he meant that impoverished, disenfranchised citizens. Impoverished means who don't even have the no basic needs met. Okay, who do not even have the basic needs met, disenfranchised citizens, but also the poor infrastructure such as inadequate roads, state school provision, and the lack of state intervention to preserve the environment against the excess of industry. That is a challenge. The affluent society was to be achieved through measures, more active government, welfare programs, state planning, and more controversially, the redistribution of wealth through taxation. So, what was actually needed was that they could have gone for the affluent society. The rich society would have been rich when everybody would have been satisfied. Everybody means welfare programs, state planning, and most controversially, the wealth should be redistributed by using the right form of taxation. Like we have progressive form of taxation, and there are other forms of taxation as well. So there should be the taxation in certain manner implemented that it leads to a redistribution of wealth to every sector of the society, which were very much out of favor during the brief period when monetarism dominated both politics and economics. So that time people didn't want to get taxed. What was the time monetarism dominated both politics and economics? Of course, then it says Galbraith had been making the case of these policies long before monetarism, and he continued to do so long after its demise. So till now, the author actually refers to monetarism ruling the society, right? He says that ever since the capitalism might have started, right? We have the pre-capitalist era and we have the capitalist era, especially if we talk about the European 16th to 18th century era, right? So during this time, we went from pre-capitalist to capitalist era, right? And during this era, we saw that how the entire change that happened was from the individual. Like initially people were thinking from the community's perspective, whatever they needed, self-sufficiency, communities benefit. That is what they were thinking. So community interest to individualistic interest is where the change happened, right? And the individualistic interest happened in terms of money. So economical individual interest was growing during the 18th century. That is what I'm trying to tell you. So when economical interest was growing during the century, what happened was the people who were still peasants, right? The poor people or the poor sector of the society was still not being rich. They could not understand how these capitalists were actually working around, right? So that was very challenging for them. Now what actually things went was that everybody wanted कि taxation होना चाहिए. जो गरीब लोग हैं उनको समझ आ रहा था कि taxation होगा तभी publicly benefit होगा. Publicly benefit मतलब schools अच्छे बनेंगे, parks अच्छे बनेंगे, healthcare अच्छा होगा, roads अच्छे होंगे. So all of that conveyance, everything will become better only when at least the rich are charged enough for what they were earning. And they were really earning, making money through a lot of ways. They were well educated. They could make money through good ways, which poor did not know how to crack into. Right? So naturally, when it comes to the basic needs, the poor was suffering. Because affluent society, when we refer to, it is very restricted. It's very limited to only a class of people. When we say class, it might be just 10 people out of 100 people. Right? So there were only very few people who were actually rich and they had the life much better than a basic need, would need. But, and at the same time, monetarism dominated. That's what it says. Monetarism dominated both politics and economics, right? So at that time, since everyone was being driven by monetarism, of course, Galbraith had been making the case for these policies long before monetarism, and he continued to do so long after its demise. So monetarism was dominating, and Galbraith, the guy he was talking about here, had been making the case of these policies. He knew that these policies are there, the monetarism is existing, and he wanted the idea of monetarism to die so that the wealth could be redistributed. A demise of monetarism, this ideology that he most certainly hastened with his profound yet witty criticism. He knew that I have to kill monetarism, and that's what he did. Hasten means उसने थोड़ा जल्दी कर दिया, usher कर दिया long before monetarism, and he continued to this thing hasten with his profound yet witty criticism of the ideology itself. What ideology? The monetarism dominance. For a European, it is hard to understand why he did not embrace socialism. For any European, it was tough to understand why he did not like socialism. But he always advocated the mixed economy. Mixed economy means redistribution of the wealth. Politically and as an adopted American, he was a Democrat. So we're talking about Democrats, we're talking about Republicans. Intellectually, he was a lifelong disciple of Keynes and greatly influenced by the post war American New Deal. So, that is also what he wanted. He didn't want that just the money should dominate the society. He wanted that the wealth should be redistributed throughout the society so that people they get to at least not really enjoy per se, but get to feel the basic needs being met. That is what he wanted. So that's why he wanted the death of monetarism dominance. Did we understand the passage, guys? It's just one paragraph and then we have some questions for it. Do we have any doubts? Are we good to go for the general idea, the structure and tone? Everyone, please post in your views, your idea of the passage. What did you understand? Then we can move to the questions. Perfect, Alicia. Okay, so before we move ahead to questions, I want everyone to please help me out with the GST of the passage. That is the general idea. The structure of the passage, that means the role of the particular paragraph. Here is just one paragraph, so you don't need to worry much about the structure. But still, what the function of the paragraph is, that's what I'm asking you to help me out with. And then tone and title of the passage. What do you think can be the tone of the author here and picture का नाम क्या रखना है? Okay, quick 1 to 2 minutes before we move to the questions. What is the tone of the author? Is it descriptive? Okay. What is the general idea? Can everyone please shoot in your ideas, the general ideas in the chat box? Yes, Alicia. What is it? Even though Galbraith was a European होना चाहिए, and तो नहीं आएगा. He preferred a mixed economy over a socialist one. Is it? No, he. So it says, yet witty criticism of that ideology. For a European, it is hard to understand why he did not embrace socialism, but he always advocated a mixed economy. So socialism तो नहीं था, but capitalism को भी वो favor नहीं कर रहा था. What he was also not favoring majorly was he wasn't favoring the monetary dominance, right? What he was favoring was more towards the mixed economy, but not that he did not favor socialism. It does say that for a European, it is hard to understand why he did not embrace socialism. Why? Because Europe was all about socialism. ठीक है, और ये पैराग्राफ भी यूरोप के बारे में ही बोल रहा है. ठीक है, सो दैट्स व्हाई आई शेयर द 16th-18th सेंचुरी प्री कैपिटलिस्ट एंड कैपिटलिस्ट वाला थिंग विद यू. सो वी कांट से कि वो सोशलिज्म के अगेंस्ट था. यहाँ पे जो स्टेटमेंट है, फॉर अ यूरोपियन इट इज हार्ड टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई डिड नॉट एम्ब्रेस सोशलिज्म, इज अबाउट एनी यूरोपियन वुड एम्ब्रेस सोशलिज्म. और वो भी एक यूरोपियन था, फिर भी वो सोशलिज्म को एम्ब्रेस नहीं करता था, और वो मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी को फेवर कर रहा है. बट ओवरऑल जो ये बात कर रहा है पैराग्राफ, वो ये दिखा रहा है कि उसने मॉनेटरी डोमिनेंस को छोड़ के वो चाहता था कि ये जो आइडियोलॉजी है मॉनेटरी डोमिनेंस की, इट शुड एंड एज सून एज पॉसिबल. बिकॉज इट्स लाइक अ वेग थिंग, अ फ्लूक टू से दैट एफ्लुएंट सोसाइटी है. सोसाइटी तो एफ्लुएंट हुई नहीं ना जब लोगों की बेसिक नीड्स, प्राइवेट, व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट पब्लिक पॉवर्टी एंड प्राइवेट एफ्लुएंस, सो दैट्स वेयर द चैलेंज इज. कि यहाँ पे आप बात करो प्राइवेट एफ्लुएंस की, कि अगर आप खुद से देखोगे तो कुछ कुछ फैमिलीज बहुत रिच हैं, बट ओवरऑल वहां पे बेसिक स्कूल की फैसिलिटीज नहीं है, रोड्स टूटी फूटी है, हेल्थ केयर अच्छा नहीं है. तो वेयर कैन वी से दैट द सोसाइटी इज एफ्लुएंट? दैट इज व्हाट द आइडिया इज हियर. एंड गॉलब्रेथ का उन्होंने एग्जांपल सिर्फ ये दिया है कि इवेंचुअली जाके ये जो एक आइडियोलॉजी बनी हुई थी वो बाद में जाके खत्म हुई, मतलब इवेंचुअली इट केम टू एन एंड. बट उससे पहले तक क्या सिचुएशन था, दैट इज व्हाट द पैराग्राफ इज टॉकिंग अबाउट, राइट? Okay, let me read what Jeet Sarkar wrote. Perfect, Alicia. Author is basically stating public facts and not any opinion, so it seems to be descriptive or narrative. See, public facts तो ठीक है, opinionated नहीं है, लेकिन डिस्क्रिप्टिव या नरेटिव के बीच में कंपैरिजन नहीं कर सकते यहाँ पे जीत. डिस्क्रिप्टिव तो हर एक चीज वो होती है जिसमें डिटेलिंग होता है, ठीक है, और इसमें कोई एनालिसिस नहीं किया. उसने हमें ये नहीं बताया कि ये सब इसके प्रोज, ये इसके कुछ कॉन्स है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं बताया. नो कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस, नो बेनिफिट्स ऑफ एनी थियोरी और एनी हाइपोथेसिस हैव बीन स्टेटेड. सो देयर इज no analysis. Narrative is when you have a structural definition, that sequential कुछ चीजें होती है कि पहले ऐसा हुआ, then this happened, then this happened. That is when you have a sequence of events happening. That is when you say it's narrative. Here it will not be narrative because there's no sequence of events. Descriptive we are picking because overall, if you see, he is describing what is affluent society as per the earlier era. How did they actually refer to a better balance between capitalist society and private affluence? And then what was it to say that the society was affluent? Still private affluence है और public poverty है, right? So public poverty और private affluence होने के बाद भी आप सोसाइटी को एफ्लुएंट सोसाइटी कैसे बोल सकते हो? दैट इज वेयर द चैलेंज लाइड. आर वी गेटिंग इट? ठीक है, सो दैट्स द टोन. एंड व्हाट एल्स? व्हाट कैन बी द टाइटल? Can you help me with the title as well? Title of the passage? Quick 30 seconds, guys, not waiting a lot because we have to cover the questions as well. Don't be argumentative for this passage. अच्छा, आर्ग्यूमेंटेटिव तो नहीं होना चाहिए क्योंकि आर्ग्यू हम एज सच आर्ग्यू नहीं कर रहा है ऑथर. ऑथर क्या कह रहा है? वो तो ये बता रहा है कि एफ्लुएंट सोसाइटी को क्या मानते थे, फिर गॉलब्रेथ ने कैसे उस चीज का खुद ही अपने क्रिटिसिज्म के थ्रू चेंज किया, उसमें उस आइडियोलॉजी को खत्म किया, और वो भी अपने विटी क्रिटिसिज्म से. ठीक है, बट ही इज नॉट आर्ग्यूइंग कि दिस वाज अ गुड आइडियोलॉजी, इट वाज अ बैड आइडियोलॉजी. The author is not talking about any two opinions of maybe contemporary authors. ऐसा कुछ बोला है उसने? नहीं बोला है. अगर वो बोलता कि author ये था, या there was, you know, a school of historians who taught about this, and there was other school of historians that was, superseding A's views or contradicting A's views by saying something, right? वैसा कुछ होता है कॉन्ट्रडिक्टरी आर्ग्यूमेंटेटिव तो. बट यहाँ पे आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं है, यहाँ पे उसने सिंपली एक्सप्लेन किया है कि एफ्लुएंट सोसाइटी क्या थी, उसका मतलब क्या था. फिर गॉलब्रेथ आया, गॉलब्रेथ ने अपने जो भी वो लिखते थे, जो भी वो बोलते थे, उसके थ्रू अपनी पॉलिसीज को, ये केस ऑफ दीज पॉलिसीज लॉन्ग बिफोर मॉनिटरिज्म वाज देयर, वो पहले से अपनी ये पॉलिसीज लिखते थे और उन्होंने इसको पूरा खत्म किया. लाइक हाउ ही लेड टू द डेथ ऑफ सच डोमिनेंस. दैट इज व्हाट ही एक्सप्लेन्स. Right? Can we move to the questions now? Everyone. Okay? All right. I'm going to take you back to the question now. Please have a look at the passage. In case you have to, it says, which of the following statements best expresses the primary objective of the passage? Primary objective मतलब main point क्या है? So primary objective, main point, central idea, main idea, ये सब same type of question होते हैं. ठीक है, और gist of the passage, similar kind of questions. Okay, please have a look at the options and help us eliminate. If you're able to do it, well and good. If not, I'm here to help you out. Okay, Alicia's already dropped in the answer. What about the rest of us? Okay. All right. What about you, Jeet? What do you think? D hona chahiye. So we have contradictory options now. So what does the question say? It says the main idea is what you're supposed to figure out. To expound means to explain. Is he referring to any kind of explanation? Of course, he explains the affluent society, what it meant and how it changed. But expound the Keynesian economics. We do not know what Keynesian economics would be. He does talk about Keynes here, lifelong disciple of Keynes, which was followed by Galbraith, but nothing about the Keynesian economies have been mentioned. So we don't know what it explains like. Highlight the period of monetarism as brief and controversial. Controversies नहीं थी, मतलब लोगों को पता था कि उससे प्रॉब्लम है, लेकिन कंट्रोवर्सी एज सच नहीं दिखाई है. पीरियड ऑफ मॉनिटरिज्म उसने हाफ पैराग्राफ में दिखाया और उसके बाद दिखाया कि चेंज हुआ तो गैलब्रेथ ने क्यों चेंज किया. राइट? Put forward the theories of Galbraith was okay, but that's again just a sentence which talks about that, not really the theories. It talks about the policies which brought an end, which led to an end of the monetarism. Okay, उन्होंने क्या किया? उन्होंने monetarism को खत्म करा वो policies के through by being witty. That is what it says. Right? So can we eliminate this option? Yes. To set forth the case for greater state invention and curtail the excess of capitalism. कि ग्रेटर स्टेट इंटरवेंशन चाहिए, स्टेट बीच में आए. गवर्नमेंट को ऑफ कोर्स वो चाहते थे कि टैक्सेशन का तरीका चेंज हो. दैट्स व्हाट इट सेज. लैक ऑफ स्टेट इंटरवेंशन, दैट इज व्हाट दे वांटेड कि गवर्नमेंट शुड टेक सम एक्शन. So this statement might be true to set forth the case for greater state intervention and curtail the excess of capitalism. जो कैपिटलिज्म चल रहा है इसको बंद करा जाए, खत्म करा जाए. बिल्कुल सही बात है, ये स्टेटमेंट एकदम ट्रू है. बट क्या ये प्राइमरी ऑब्जेक्टिव है? नहीं. So can this be the answer? No. If we look at E on the other side says to present the theories found in the classic title The Affluent Society. That is what it says कि Affluent Society में जो theories mentioned है उसको explain कर रहा है. ठीक है, Affluent Society का मतलब क्या था? Private affluence होना और public poverty होना. फिर उसने बताया कि पब्लिक पॉवर्टी क्या था, क्या क्या चीजें रिफॉर्मेशन चाहिए था. फिर उसने गॉलब्रेथ के बारे में बताया. सो ओवरऑल इफ यू लुक एट इट्स लाइक presenting the theories which have been stated in the affluent society, which also includes talking about Galbraith and his policies and eventually leading to the demise of monetism dominance. Are we good with the question so far? Jeet, did we understand why the answer has to be E and not D? Is it clear? Why the answer is Echo and not Delhi? I hope this is clear. Okay, so answer has to be Echo. Okay, let's have a look at the next question very quickly. Which of the following statements can be best inferred from the passage? तो inferential question है ये. Inferential मतलब अगर कोई fact stated होगा तो because it's stated it should not be the answer. As per the passage, what can we infer? Take quick 30 seconds, solve it, then we discuss. Cut, eliminate karo. You'll be left with the right option. In case you want to refer, I'll take you back to the passage. Quickly answer. Okay. All right, refer the passage. I'll just remove everything for your convenience. Oh, Kushag, good to see you here again. We just refer to this passage. It's just one paragraph in case you want to take a picture of it or read it very quickly. We are solving the questions. So in case you're done, take a snap of the question, the passage here. Just one paragraph to the passage. All right. Let me know once you're done. I'll take you back to the passage. Jeet, lad, everybody? Okay. This is the question, guys. Inferential one. Okay. Jeet says it's echo. Anybody else for any other option? Oh, good to see. Everybody answering different answers. Is this question that controversial that we have different opinions? Okay, let's have a look at it together. So, it's an inferential question. We need to figure out the best inference from the passage. Mr. Galbraith was acclaimed for the way he made complex economic theory accessible to the person in the street. He was acclaimed means he was celebrated. He was, everybody liked him for the way he made more complex economic theory accessible. Of course, his policies were presented by him. He killed monetary dominance through his witty ideas, witty policies. But was he acclaimed for the way he made economic theory accessible to the person in the street? Tax cuts should be opposed if the air is polluted. Tax cuts should be opposed. अगर एयर पोल्यूटेड होगी तो, अगर एयर पोल्यूशन हो रहा है, उसके लिए कौन रिस्पॉन्सिबल होगा? रिच पीपल, ठीक है। और रिच पीपल को ही टैक्स देना पड़ता है। तो क्या वो चाहेंगे कि टैक्स कट हो? वो तो चाहेंगे, लेकिन जो पुअर पीपल है वो क्या करेंगे? वो अपोज करेंगे टैक्स कट्स को, कि टैक्स कटना नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि एयर इज सेम फॉर एवरीवन, राइट? इट्स सेम एयर फॉर रिच और पुअर, इट्स अ सेम एयर। तो इवेंचुअली हो क्या रहा है कि पुअर जो है उसको भी वैसे ही एयर पोल्यूशन में रहना पड़ रहा है जितना रिच को रहना पड़ रहा है, और रिच को बेनिफिट भी है क्योंकि रिच इज गेटिंग रिचर बिकॉज ऑफ द इंडस्ट्रीज एंड एवरीथिंग दे हैव सेट, whereas पुअर इज नॉट इवन हैविंग दैट मच ऑफ वेल्थ, उसको बेसिक नीड्स नहीं मिल पा रही, वो एनवायरमेंट को कैसे खराब करेगा? तो नेचुरली एनवायरमेंट को अगर आप इम्पैक्ट कर रहे हो तो टैक्स तो लगना चाहिए, टैक्स कट को अपोज करना चाहिए, ठीक है। ये थोड़ा ट्रिकी क्वेश्चन था। अगर आप यहां से देखोगे, author Affluent Society argued through Vera's long and distinguished career for better advanced capitalist societies between private affluence and evident public poverty. By public poverty, he meant that impoverished, disenfranchised citizens, but also the poor infrastructure such as inadequate roads, state school provision, and the lack of state intervention to preserve the environment against the excess of industry. Right? So this statement tells us that poor people, they were anyway trying to preserve the environment, but टैक्सेस वो क्यों देंगे? और वो इनफैक्ट चाहेंगे कि टैक्स कट नहीं होना चाहिए, कि अगर एफ्लुएंट सोसाइटी के प्रीमियम लोग पोल्यूशन कर रहे हैं तो दे शुड बी रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर टैक्स। सो कैन आई होल्ड ऑन टू बी? यस। परफेक्ट सोसाइटी वुड बी वन वेयर द रिच एक्सेप्टेड हाई रेट्स ऑफ टैक्सेशन। क्या परफेक्ट सोसाइटी वो होगी जो हाई रेट्स ऑफ टैक्सेशन को एक्सेप्ट करेगी? What in the perfect society? We don't know. It just explains affluent society क्या मतलब था। उसने perfect society को कुछ नहीं explain किया। Economic life is a bipolar phenomena. What is bipolar? Does the paragraph even talk about it? No. Benefits of tax cuts tackle down through the whole of society. What does it mean? ये सारे options बहुत ही absurd है। हो सकता है आपको A लगाओ, but inference तो यही है ना कि tax cuts were opposed. They should be opposed if the air is polluted, which is absolutely right. So can we consider that A is the right choice here or B is the right choice here? None of you answered it correctly. This was a tricky question. The answer is B, Bombay. I hope everybody is good with the question, guys. Okay? I hope no doubts. We're running very short of time. I'll take you to the next question very quickly. In case you have any doubts, guys, please ask me here because this was really good question. ये inferential question था. ठीक है? आपको लगेगा कि गॉलब्रथ का रेफरेंस है और टैक्स कट्स के बारे में तो कोई बात नहीं है, लेकिन गॉलब्रथ के बारे में उसने बोला was acclaimed for the way he made complex economic theory accessible to the person in the street. Are we saying कि उसने इकोनॉमिक थ्योरी को सिंप्लीफाई किया था? I'll just come back to see कुशाक, just give me a moment. क्या गॉलब्रथ ने he anyway simplified complex economic theory? क्या उसने इकोनॉमिक थ्योरी जिसको हम माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स और मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स स्टडी करते हैं और फिर उसकी डिटेलिंग में जाते हैं, उसको बहुत सिंप्लीफाई करके अपनी पॉलिसीज में बताया था? नहीं। पर्सन ऑफ द स्ट्रीट मतलब एक कॉमन मैन वुड बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड इट, ऐसा कुछ मेंशन नहीं था। तो आंसर इज नॉट ए फॉर श्योर। सी सेज परफेक्ट सोसाइटी वुड बी द वन वेयर रिच एक्सेप्टेड हाई रेट्स ऑफ टैक्सेशन। व्हाई वुड रिच एक्सेप्ट हाई रेट्स ऑफ टैक्सेशन? हम ये कैसे कह सकते हैं कि परफेक्ट सोसाइटी वो होगी? इसके हिसाब से परफेक्ट सोसाइटी तो वो भी हो सकती है ना जहां पे रिच अपना मनी दान ही कर दे, ठीक है, और वो कुछ ऐसा करें कि इट शुड बी लाइक दे शुड डोनेट देयर मनी रादर, and they should try to think from the society's education system, think from the socialistic point of view rather than being very very capitalistic there. No, they should think high rates of taxation is a very vague term. We don't know high rates matlab kya hai. We don't have any alignment on this ki what is high rates of tax. Galbraith's advocacy of wealth redistribution through taxation to address public poverty and achieve a balance between private affluence and welfare. I do agree, but it doesn't mean कि उसको देखो, okay, if you're referring to this statement, it says the affluent society was to be achieved through measures, more active government, welfare programs, state planning, and more controversially redistribution of wealth through taxation. But why would the rich, they accept very high taxes? यहाँ पे उसने टैक्स कट्स की बात करी है कि टैक्स को काट ही दो आप पूरा, ठीक है। यहाँ पे आप बोल रहे हो वेरी हाई टैक्स, सो दैट्स अ वेरी, मतलब अभी आप टैक्स लगाने की बात कर रहे हो, ठीक है, बट अगर मैं बोलूँ कि ज्यादा टैक्स पे करना पड़ेगा तो वो तो और भी सेकंड लेवल हो जाएगा। अभी आप सिंपल टैक्सेशन की बात करो कि टैक्स लगा दो, दैट इज व्हाट दे वांटेड कि रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ वेल्थ होना चाहिए थ्रू टैक्सेशन. तो टैक्सेशन अभी शायद था ही नहीं सोसाइटी में, प्रॉब्लम ये थी. Which were very much of favor during the brief period when monetarism dominance both politics and economics. के भाई जिसके पास पैसा है उसकी चलेगी पॉलिटिक्स में भी इकोनॉमिक्स में भी. और उस टाइम पे गॉलब्रेथ अपनी पॉलिसीज लेके आए थे लॉन्ग बिफोर मॉनेटरिज्म एंड कंटिन्यू टू do so after its demise. A demise that he most certainly hastened. That is profound yet witty criticism of that ideology. For a European, it's hard to understand why he did not embrace socialism. उनको समझ नहीं आया था कि सोशलिज्म क्यों embrace नहीं कर पा रहे. तो आइडली हो क्या रहा था कि अभी तक टैक्स लगे ही नहीं थे. एंड दिस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन इफ यू रेफर टू ऑप्शन नंबर बी एंड सी में ही इज रेफरिंग टू परफेक्ट सोसाइटी वुड बी वन वेयर द रिच एक्सेप्टेड हाई रेट्स ऑफ टैक्स. आप ये बोल रहे हो कि परफेक्ट सोसाइटी वो होगी जहां पे रिच हाई रेट्स ऑफ टैक्स को एक्सेप्ट करेगा. बट अभी तो आपने टैक्सेशन ही नहीं करा है ना. टैक्स कट्स मतलब कि जनरल टैक्स कट्स जो है, जनरल टैक्स मतलब एक बेसिक टैक्स लगाना. हाई रेट इज स्टिल हायर. You're not even referring to basic tax here. That's why we can't say that. That is also one point. Okay, but if I talk about taxation, general taxation and then high taxes, so naturally you'd refer to कि tax cut ही ना करो भी. ठीक है, लेकिन अगर आप टैक्स लगाओगे ही नहीं तो जो पुअर पर्सन है वो तो उसके लिए भी पीनलाइज हो रहा है ना, क्योंकि एयर क्वालिटी उसके लिए भी पुअर है और रिच के लिए भी पुअर है. और रिस्पॉन्सिबल कौन है एयर क्वालिटी पुअर होने का? इट्स मोर ऑफ रिच साइड, क्योंकि पुअर इज नॉट डूइंग एनीथिंग. Poor is not creating more demand. Poor is not an industrialist. He is not leading to that air pollution anyway. वो जो पोल्यूशन हो रहा है वो किसकी वजह से हो रहा है? मतलब मैक्सिमम जो उसका प्रोपोर्शन है दैट इज द ओननेस लाइज ऑन द रिच पीपल. सो टैक्स कट्स शुड बी अपोज्ड इफ द एयर इज पोल्यूटेड. अगर एयर क्वालिटी खराब होगा तो टैक्स कट्स को अपोज करेंगे कौन? पुअर पीपल. सो दैट इज वाई बी ओवर सी. परफेक्ट सोसाइटी तो वैसे भी कुछ मेंशन नहीं है ना. उसने एफ्लुएंट सोसाइटी की बात करी और एफ्लुएंट सोसाइटी का क्या रेफरेंस है, उसको परफेक्ट कैसे बनाएंगे वी डोंट नो दैट. सो कैन वी से दैट बी इज अ बेटर चॉइस ओवर सी? यस. Kushag, are we clear on this? Also, as per the lack of pollution is mentioned there, on the basis of that we can choose. Absolutely, absolutely. Are we good with the question? Can we move ahead to the next? Okay. Please have a look at this question. Very important question, a very good one. Quickly go through it. Which of the following, if true, would most add to the main point of the passage? Okay, so just eliminate the options and you'll get the answer. If you want, I'll take you back to the passage again, but add to the main point of the passage means whatever the main point of the passage you understood, you need to go one step ahead. Something that would support. It's more of a CR question for you. A statement that would be supportive. Okay? Okay, can we refer to the question very quickly? All right, all right. Anybody else who's dropping on the answers, guys? Please drop down your answers very quickly. Lad, what do you think? Okay, let me take you back to the question. So we need to figure out the main point of the passage first, and then we need to see what supports, right? Your critical reasoning question, if you know, you always try to figure out the conclusion and you see which of the following premise can support it. If it is a premise, it's stated in the passage, and if it is something we need to figure out, it might be on the lines of premise maybe, but it's not stated. That's why it's called an assumption or unstated premise. Okay. So, what does the question say? We need to support the main idea. So, what is the main idea here? What is the main idea, guys? That they wanted an affluent society to be affluent by stating that the rich should be rich, but the poor should also have enough, you know, access to the basic public property, public uh, necessities like education, healthcare, good roads, good air quality, all of that, right? So we need to support that. We need to support that looking at the options. Galbraith was disappointed with the collapse of communism. Can we say he was disappointed with the collapse of communism? One, we're not talking about the collapse of communism, we're talking about the collapse of capitalism to some extent by his views, by his policies we are referring to. Most people are content means they're satisfied to accept public squalor and private affluence. We don't know what it refers to by most people. Maybe if out of 90, you know, say out of 100, 90 people are rich, they would want it to be like this. But this is not most. Most could be 50-50, okay? And most could be 40-60 as well. Again, most would still lie on the 60 side. And then on the other side, this is poor, this is rich, or this is poor, this is rich. There's a lot of questionality on, like, a lot of question on this, whether what is that most referring to? Is it the poor, the rich people referring to? And if you say the content to accept public squalor and private affluence, right? So why would somebody accept that? Private affluence is accepted only to the rich people, right? Poor would not accept it. Galbraith met James Keynes. Would it add any main point? No. It is claimed that his fame was fading in the 1970s while he wrote his critique of monetarist. Okay. Galbraith was delighted by the collapse of communism. Was disappointed, was delighted. Which one? Guys, quick please. Bog Bog Srijan, yes. An old question, but yes. Can you guys please help me out whether it should be A or E and why? It's a very good question, guys. It's a critical reasoning question within the RC itself. Yes, can I have your answer, guys? Which of the following would the main point be supported by? हाँ, A होना चाहिए, E होना चाहिए. Kushagra and Yash, why would it be A? Was he disappointed with the collapse of communism or was he happy with the collapse of communism? वो क्या चाहता था? What did he want? If you go back to the passage, he did not embrace socialism. ठीक है, socialism उसको नहीं पसंद था. That was for any general person. But he what he did was he was also happy with the death of the ideology of monetarism, right? So he somewhere wanted that the affluent society should come up well, right? Based on word demise. So demise is of the ideology, isn't it? कम्युनिज्म तो कभी था ही नहीं. पहली चीज, कम्युनिज्म अगर था भी तो डिसअपॉइंटेड विद द कोलैप्स नहीं. ही वाज रादर हैप्पी. Demise means he would be happy with the collapse of communism here. So answer should be echo over A, isn't it? Communism अगर हुआ तो it was monetarism dominance he is referring to, which he was happy with. So disappointed with the collapse of communism, but there's nothing that mentions ke, ha, oh, all right, Kushag, congratulations, we got some, if you secured your position there. But here is the question clear? Yash, Kushag, Srijan, everybody, can you guys please help me with another view in case you have? There's a good, contradiction between A and E. Was he disappointed with the collapse of communism, or was he delighted by the collapse of communism? He was delighted with the fact that there was no monetarism, monetarism dominance coming in the society anymore. His policies has put to the demise of this ideology. Which ideology is he referring to? The monetary dominance, right? So answer should be E echo over A or B or any other option you thought of. Any doubts in the passage? Anything? Why not B? I want explanation. Very good, Kushag. I'll just explain it to you. अगर आप बी देखते हो बी में उसने बोला मोस्ट पीपल आर कंटेंट टू एक्सेप्ट पब्लिक स्कॉलर एंड प्राइवेट एफ्लुएंस. ये जो मोस्ट पीपल है, अगर मैं 100 पीपल कंसिडर करती हूँ, टोटल कितने 100 पीपल है, ठीक है, उनमें से 10 पीपल आर रिच फॉर एग्जाम्पल एंड 90 पीपल आर पुअर, ठीक है. And for example, this says here that most people are content to accept public scholar and private affluence. Who do you think would support private affluence? कौन support करेगा? Public support करेगी या private? Rich people support करेंगे या फिर poor people support करेंगे private affluence को? Word delight. I'll just come back to that. Yash, just give me a moment. Guys, first you tell me about B. Who would support private affluence? Would it be rich or poor? इफ इट इज प्राइवेट एफ्लुएंस तो जो ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग है, रिच लोग इसको सपोर्ट करेंगे कि हमें प्राइवेट एफ्लुएंस चाहिए. बट मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल वुड बी सपोर्टिंग दिस, दैट दे वांट पब्लिक एफ्लुएंस. पब्लिक एफ्लुएंस का मतलब है कि आप वेल्थ को रेगुलेट करो, लोगों को, जो गरीब है उनको अमीर बनाओ, या उनको बेसिक नेसेसिटीज जो है उनकी वो तो फुलफिल करो, ठीक है. सो दिस मोस्ट पीपल इटसेल्फ इज अ वेरी वेग टर्म. दिस इज समथिंग यू कांट रिलेट टू. If we look at the word delighted or disappointed in terms of passage, delighted का मतलब happy होगा, but what would it be happy about? He would be happy about by the death of monetary dominance, which was actually lurking so far, right? So can we say collapse of communism? ये communism in terms of affluent society को ही refer कर रहा है. Are we good with this? Directly reinforces Galbraith's critique of the imbalance between private wealth and public poverty, which is the central theme of the passage. It emphasizes societal complacency. No, Kushag. But again, this term is very misleading. Most people are content to accept public school and private affluence. अगर हमें यहाँ पे वो कुछ बोल देता कि as per the passage as well, most people, why would they support private affluence? है ना? Main point तो obviously we got it that Galbraith is critiquing that imbalance. But if we want to critique that imbalance, we need to talk about that why is he doing it. So can I say that most people are content to accept public school and private affluence, therefore Galbraith is critiquing? Yes, we can say that, but does it give a very strong assumption to support it? Not really. If you want, we can still take this question in the next session because we are already running short of time. This was the last question, guys. We have another passage, but we'll be covering it in the next session. Okay. Thank you so very much. It took us really late to cover up all the questions. There's 3 questions in the second paragraph, second passage. But because of the discussion, it took us a while. All right, we'll connect very soon for the next XAT session. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah. And have a very good night.